spend a ton of time talking about me, which I realize sometimes is very, very useful. And I realize other times is less useful. Now, the piece that I'm normally talking about me has got to do with one of the most important areas within product growth, right? Which is product fit itself, right? If you don't have great products, it's not that you can't grow a unicorn. Plenty of people have grown unicorns on terrible products, but it does seem like a bit of a silly thing to do when you can just build beautiful product. So I have a phenomenal lineup for you where you're going to get to see Anjan, who's one of the top specialist leaders in the product fit space. And I'm going to bring him in on and I'm going to talk through it. I want to just, as I'm doing that though, I want to just talk to you a little bit about one of the companies that we just got very deeply involved with. We'd made a lot of investments into them before. Matchbook, incredible Indian founder, building a product which is a phenomenal product, which is superior matching of data from data publishers, which is a huge problem. 50% of the time, the data that's got from data publishers is incorrect or incomplete, either of which is useless. It would be like voting for a political party and 50% of the time they lied. Oh, actually, that's already happening. Okay, got my dig into US politics. And so product fit is everything. And so within their product fit, they have this great product fit, they have this great message, they have this great hero statement, but there is some friction because there are other people in the area of data that they want to be able to do this themselves. And so product fit is not just about I have better, you have worse, therefore I will sell more. It's an ecosystem of people that are around you that all have their own agendas for how they're going to be successful in what they're doing. So I am going to bring in the very great, the very wonderful Anjan. Let me get you in here. There we go. Okay, come into the
Hey,
room.
Brian.
Anjan, you are
Good morning.
here. I like the background.
Thank you. Like your background as well.
I like the background. So tell us about yourself and tell us about product fit.
Um, sure. I think first of all, thank you, the Expert Dojo team, for giving me this opportunity to come and speak here. Which one would you want me to speak first? The product market fit or about myself?
Yourself.
Got it. I'll take a quick minute. I think the team had already covered a good deal in the introduction that they had posted on LinkedIn. Um, 22 years in the industry, primarily in tech, building products. Started as an engineer and then grew up to product management and subsequently loved what I was doing. Um, so I was loving what I was doing. Tried my hands in both B2B, B2C products. Spent a good amount of time in companies like McAfee, Intel, and Walmart, and subsequently I felt why not go to the supplier. I've spent a good amount of time on the supplier side. Why not go to the consumer side? And that's where I ended up in TVS Motors. If you think of TVS Motors, they are the number 3 automobile manufacturer in India in two-wheeler category, and they seems to be the biggest consumer of all the software products that gets built everywhere. So I wanted to spend some time understanding the ecosystem, understand how the consumers of the product that I was building were using it from a B2B and enterprise context. So that's a bit about where I spent my time on. About product market fit, I think it's both McAfee, Intel, Walmart, and subsequently at TVS. There has been a good amount of product that I have built. Um, Fashionable term 0 to 1 and then 1 to 100. Essentially took an idea from scratch and then built it um, to 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 the point where I felt that yes, we have met the product market fit, and the time has come um where we could scale it to millions of users. So close to about 10 plus odd products is what I worked on, where I felt we met the product market fit. I guess, Brian, you touched a good point in the beginning. I think it's an ecosystem. It's not as simple as it appears to be on the books. When you start building, with each product, your definition or the steps that you take to reach to product market fit tends to change a lot. And I'll give you a quick example of it if time allows. At McAfee, I was working on B2C
Yeah.
products for a longer time. So the kind of things that we did to attain product market fit were very different from the kind of things that I was doing at subsequent companies where it hit an enterprise ecosystem. All put together, I think in my mind, what I think product market fit, despite all the different talks that we say, there are two metrics that I normally look at. Um, did we get enough of new users coming? Did we get enough of users retain? Now, I'll try to give it in a more simplified form. I think everyone here is mature enough to understand. My eighth standard son keeps asking me, what is product market fit? What is product market fit? So I had to sort of improvise on what it is. What I told him, I mean, let's say you want to start a lemon juice or a lemonade shop or a lemonade business in your school. So you go out there, you set it up. The kids in the school, they come, they pass by, and then one fine day or the same day that you have set up your shop, folks come in and they start buying it from you. The first day goes, second day goes, people keep coming in. Most of the folks have bought it for the first time. Maybe the third, fourth day onwards, people liked what you did and they went ahead and spoke to others. You were selling it to your classmates, and now they have gone ahead and started speaking to everyone else in your school. So within a week or so, folks and students beyond your classmates beyond your section and grade have started coming and started consuming the product. So that's probably your second stage of in a product market fit. Having said that, the the second week onwards, it's not just the new folks who are coming in, it's also folks who have already bought a glass of lemonade the previous week or the previous day have started coming back and started purchasing it from you. So that's your first level of product market fit. Did the story end there? I mean, does the story end there? Obviously not. Some folks come and say that, hey, you know what, you are serving us in glasses and paper cups, and we really don't like that. We are very environment friendly, so can you we are not going to buy it from you if you continue to sell it us in paper cups. So that's where you improvise to your next step. How do you get environmentally friendly, let's say degradable stuff for your class? Because that's where you start seeing that your retention is falling for the practices that you're following. You make that change, folks like what you have done. Now they come back and ask you, we love the fact that you are giving us in school, but we don't get it near our home. What can you do about it? So you go and start setting up some stalls or let's say shops near their homes. And that's your second stage of product market fit. So at every stage, there is an increased ask or a renewed ask or a renewed revelation in front of you about what you need to do to grow this product. Let's say you don't listen to your consumers or your users or your customers, your classmates who were paying for it, and you say, what this renewable stuff? I cannot poke a bigger hole in my pocket right now. I don't have enough of money, and then you don't improvise there. Obviously, you are going to see a good drop in your retention. So even if you found your initial product market fit, you start to lose the traction for the fact that you are not listening and paying attention to your users slash customers. In my mind, that sort of brings back to another important question: what essentially is a product? While I have myself gone through multiple theoretical answers of it, my personal view of it is that end of the day, it's a packaged bundled set of values that you're offering to your users, and you continuously look for what additional values are they looking for, and can you really give them in a sustainable and scalable manner while you still remain profitable in your own business. I guess that's where I would sort of start with the PMF in my mind.
Nice. Yeah, that's nice. And I think for me, like the more I've dealt with the companies that we've invested into, the more I've realized that the more
Yes.
transformative the impact is, the easier it is to kind of fight against the negative frictions, because
Yeah.
there's negative frictions everywhere. Like there's negative frictions from the
Yes.
knowledge perspective, there's negative frictions from an
Correct.
impact perspective, because it's very seldom that people have the
Yeah.
knowledge to really understand how amazing your product is, first of all. Second of all, it's very unusual that customers would have the knowledge of the impacts that they're going to have until the impact happens. But then finally, there's another area, which is the ecosystem impact, which is otherwise called like partner market fit or
Correct.
ecosystems market fit. And so that could be very simply going back to your case of like plastic versus glass cups. It may be you have the best lemonade,
True.
you have the best stand, you have the best people to sell that lemonade, you have the best customers to receive that lemonade, but that lemonade can only be delivered in plastic cups. But you have to have your stand in a in an area of a city which is run by that city that has a law that says you
Correct.
cannot have any plastic. And this happens a lot, right? A lot of the time, it's not just a question of saying, I got a great product, I pass it out to customer understands it, we educate customer, we sell more. Because there's all these people that are in the ecosystem and have been there for years. And some of them are not even just based on common sense. Some of them are based on the fact of, you know what? Actually, he's my friend, she's my friend. I've been here for 20 years and screw you. You were going to make sure that you do not break into this market
Correct.
because we're friends. Now try and build that into your product fit landscape. So I'd like to talk a little bit about McAfee because I think McAfee is a fascinating example. They were not the best product in the market, and there were definitely a lot of friction within the ecosystem around McAfee. But he went through and executed, or sorry, I'll say, because obviously he was the face, but the execution team was so strong that nobody else has existed really for 30 years.
Agree, and I would start by disagreeing, saying that McAfee didn't have the best products. In some aspect, in some areas, they had. I mean, obviously, that will be a completely different debate. However, I think you were spot on there. Towards the end, you touched the very point that whether you have a great product or not is one thing. Possibly on a scale of 1 to 10, someone has 7, somebody has 8. That's a different story. But how well you're executing, and how well are you able to get tuned to the voice of the customer is where the whole story changes. And I'll take one quick story from McAfee that sort of stays pretty close to my heart. It was my early days as a product manager. We were building, we were adding this new value set for customers called performance. There is this notion always in the industry that AV products slow you down. Yes, they slow you down because they are doing something in the background to keep you safe. At the same point in time, you also can do different kind of tunings to give users a far better experience. Now, when we came to market to build this product, I mean, there are two set of products that we built back then in 2016, 17. These are called McAfee Web Boost to improve your web browsing experience performance, and the second one was PC Boost. That's when you're just working on the PC. Browser was one ecosystem. The PC minus the browser was the other ecosystem. All your documents, other workloads that people were working on. I think the easy path to go there is just do a competitive analysis and see someone on a scale of 1 to 10 is at 7. You could go ahead and optimize it to 8 and offer the value. So competition told us one story. We finally went ahead and started speaking to users. And this is where the interesting story starts. The speaking to users simply didn't start with just sending them surveys. We went ahead and sat with the users and started watching what they were doing. We started talking to some of them as they were speaking about their computer and browsing problems. And this is across different segments. I wouldn't go to the details of the segments at this point of time. However, when we started looking at how users are using and working their PCs, some revelations came, I mean, some aha moments came that were not captured in any secondary survey, that were not captured in any of the primary surveys that we had sent to the user. We came across users who were using 50 to 55 plus tabs open on their Chrome browser and working only on one or two of them. Mac has made it even cooler right now. You can have different instances of Chrome open and working only on one tab while you have multiple others running in the background. And people just didn't know that these are the things. I mean, most users, you are not the only one, Brian. There are a lot that may also be smiling at themselves. But when we started looking at it, I think it was a part of educating the users that, hey, this behavior also slows down your customer. But now let's go back to understand the profile and persona of the users. This was like 2015, 16, people, and the trend back then was that any website you open, there was an autoplay video that would just keep coming in without you figuring out and that taking up your bandwidth. which was further slowing down the browser experience. People didn't know what tabs were open, what were they doing, and all of it sort of just coming back. Now the aha moment obviously was that people were not aware of what's running in the background. And the second one was that the workloads were really beyond control of any machine to take care of it. We had two options. We go down the path of traditional performance tuning softwares, build it for them, or build a completely new experience that looked extremely light for the users and yet did solve the purpose. I mean, if you go today and search for something called as McAfee Web Boost, a fairly small Chrome browser extension, it's packaged as part of McAfee home security or total protection solution for the consumers, and I think it goes by a different name for enterprise users possibly. But the point that came to us is that you cannot always follow the path that everyone else has followed to reach PMF. You have to listen to the customers in that moment and not just listen to them from the point of view of what they are doing today, but also extrapolate what their behaviors are going to be 2 3 years down the lane. And I guess that's where we were sort of very successful in building a product story for ourselves, build a narrative for the users, and that stuck pretty well to them. Autoplay videos continued to stay in the market from 2015 till 2018 19, and after that I think there are a lot of browser tuning happened, and that was taken care of the browser. Performance, for example, we started looking at the concept of what we call as workloads. Right now, when you and I are chatting, we are just looking at the Studio Restream application. Everything else is in the background. So can I go ahead and prioritize all my resources and start giving the bump to this application that I'm working on? Some of these innovations look fairly small in nature, but the kind of impact that they create for the user are phenomenal. I mean, our results were astounding, and we succeeded not just in building the product story, we also succeeded in executing. To your point, I think I would conclude with three things here. Um, for when we talk about value, I think value comes in my mind, it comes in three forms. First of all, is it solving my problem? Now, just let's look at that browser performance thing. Did it solve my problem? Yes. It gave me the perception and visible impact, the time that the application was taking to load, or that page was taking to load. How did we do it? We started telling the user through the experience, this is how faster the page loaded for you. This is how much bandwidth we have saved for you. So that's where the user started noticing the change that was happening in the application. The second part of it is that sometimes great products, but not good quality, and you are going to fail there. The notion of quality would come from multiple perspective. Was my onboarding good? Once I got onboarded, was I able to see the value in first 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it is? And the last one being, was it affordable for me? Yes, you have built a web boost solution for me. When we started this journey, I recall that the individual performance tuning applications were priced anywhere between $20 to $100+. I don't remember right now whether it was per month or per year, but let's assume that this was per year. I mean, $20 to $100 back in 2015 was a fairly good amount of money that people were spending on performance tuning, which even a lot of people today are not ready to spend on ChatGPT Premium or a Perplexity Premium. So from that perspective, did we make the product affordable? Yes, we did, by trying different hooks there, choosing it to be part of our broader product suite, allowing users to try it for free for some time, and then upgrade and sort of things. A lot of different things that happen there. But yes, execution is paramount. At the same point of time, where are you keeping your focus in execution is also paramount, and that's the point that I was trying to see. That for this product to be successful, the fact that this product became successful was an outcome of three things. There was razor sharp focus on execution. We had to go out there timely, and in the due process, making users a part of our whole development journey to see whether it is really solving, not after the product was released, but while we were still building all the lean principles, lean product practices. And the third one was quality of the was quality meeting to the expectations of the users.
I like that. Lots of really good information for there. You know, it's funny as you say all these things. I even wonder if product market fit
Yeah,
is a good name. It seems so
yeah,
egocentric to developers. Like it's like, oh, we just built a great product. It's awesome, and it should really be a solution market fit. And to your point, like a solution market fit has got multiple different components. It has a knowledge market fit. It has a future a product market fit or a future solution market fit, especially as things are changing. It has a transformative market fit, like how transformative is it going to be? It has an ecosystem market fit. If everybody in the ecosystem, it may be that nuclear is wonderful as a power source, but if every single person in your town does not want to have a nuclear reactor close to them, it doesn't matter. The ecosystem solution fit is not going to work. It could be the partner solution fit. So it almost seems like to build a great, solution market fit, I'll call it product market fit, there's these 5 or 10 components around it, from knowledge to execution to partners to ecosystems to future transform and then to transformative as well. And you almost want to score these on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whatever, so that you can see where is your area of weaknesses. Because even if you nail 4 of them, if one of them wants to destroy your company going through, it will. Like you won't make it no matter how
absolutely.
great your
I,
product
I
is.
really love that narrative of ecosystem fit. And I personally agree with the opinion that product market fit is not a good idea. I feel that we have jargonized a whole lot of these things to either confuse people or make it simple for them to relay a specific idea. Sometimes I feel that neither product nor solution. End of the day, what are we delivering to the users? Value. Maybe the value delivery fit is what I would go to the next thing. I mean, this is the value that I.
So like, okay,
Yep.
you just got me thinking. So, like, let's use Donald Trump as an example, right? As a
Yeah.
product market fit. Okay. So, it's a pretty terrible solution, right? It's not transformative in any way. Nothing good is happening, probably bad. I'm not, first of all, I should say this before we start. I dislike
Yeah.
all politicians equally. So, this isn't a Donald thing, but it's a very interesting one because at this precise moment, even someone who's working on very chaotic principles, who on a morals level people might find abhorrent, because the ecosystem market fit is so strong, because people want to change so much, that actually the timing of that particular moment meant that someone who for the next 40 years could never have gone in, and maybe for the previous 40 years to his time of coming in, he would never have got into politics. He became a perfect product market fit.
Yeah. I mean, um, I I personally don't comment on politicians and politics and don't bring that notion into any product discussion. But yes, I mean, if we look at an individual, while you're talking about Donald Trump, he has got the PMF. If I put that from the perspective of an ecosystem fit, I think it's still questionable whether we have found the ecosystem fit or not.
Okay, in that case, we've just added another area, which is perceptual
Market
market
fit, yeah.
fit.
And I guess that's why I was talking about the value market fit, or I mean, if we call it as the value delivery fit. There are multiple jargons that could come, but in my mind, I mean, let's just think about it for a moment. I mean, end of the day, that's the narrative and parlance that I keep building in my mind. The product, end of the day, is a collection of values. It's packaged and bundled set of values. Some are primary drivers, some are secondary, some are tertiary. Let's just put it that.
Yeah, and like, for example, like to parallel Trump and put him alongside AI.
Hmm.
AI has a perceptual market fit
Yeah.
right now. We know there are good areas that AI provides solutions
Yeah.
inside, but most of AI is not actually a massive solution to anybody's life today. But everybody
Yep.
feels that they should have AI or they won't survive.
That's the
So
perception.
that
Yeah.
perceptual market fit,
Exactly.
yeah.
And in fact, this goes back to the same story about McAfee Web Boost that I was speaking about. Um, I think a lot of PMF and a lot of product success, a lot of growth hack stories circle around basics of psychology. Right? How do you tap into the right human emotion at the right time? So the performance improved, but did the user realize it? How would somebody realize? And performance is always, subjective. If I have a 5 kg weight in my hand and I make it 5.5 kg, would the user really perceive that there was a 10% improvement in it? At the same point in time, I mean, there was a 10% increase in the weight, but at the same point of time, if the 5 becomes 7.5, the user does come to know about the change in the weight. So the simplest experiment that we did was, can we keep telling the user this is what we have improved for you? Every time we we delivered a value, we told the user this is the value that we have received. And that sort of just keeps triggering again and again in the mind of the user, and that perception gets cemented over a period of time. And finally, well, there are also cheating practices that people do. I'm not talking about unethical, that you don't do anything and yet you keep sharing your value delivery messages, assuming you are on the right ethical path, are delivering values. It's just a matter of finding the right trigger, message, and the right perceptory sensor triggered in the mind of the user, so that your product finds right footing in the user's mind. I think that's where I would leave ourselves with the thought. And this is something that I have kept doing going forward in almost every product that I have built. I don't think I'm the innovator of this idea. I mean, Uber has done it multiple times. When Uber become, if not fairly successful, I think it was back in 2016-17, every time you booked a ride, Uber said these are the number of miles you have traveled and x liters of oil was saved on the planet. Every ride sharing app sort of started telling you this is the amount of time that you have saved by commuting alone on the road. This is the extra amount of knowledge and wisdom you would have got from users. So
I mean, but we also know that like none of that is
yeah,
true because of Uber and Lyft, there are so many more cars on the
yeah,
road that are driving around in highly trafficked areas in the middle of
correct.
town, actually using up way more fuel. But they can take one statistic and create a value. I really like how you phrase the word values around that. By the way, I got some great questions in. First one is, what is the most underrated lever to reach product market fit faster that founders rarely use?
Um, I think it's a broad question. I would have to generalize all the founders. I certainly won't be able to do that. But everyone that I have met and worked, and I keep advising them, one of the most underrated lever is talking to your customers. There are multiple modes that you can go ahead and do it, but I think we get so engrossed with our own ideas, we start building and building and building. And I thought the age of AI would make it even simpler. Unfortunately, what I see with a lot of folks is that you go run reports and research reports on GPT, Gemini, and others, pull the reports and feel what is being thrown at you as the truth. Go ahead and talk to users at every stage of your product building. And I mean, you could do it using surveys. In my previous company, I think TVS Motor, this is what I did, and maybe I'll just touch a little bit on why it's very important for the founder to use this lever and make it part of their company culture. Whether in the early days you are not just the CEO, you are the CEO, CPO, CTO, COO, and everything. And one of the simplest thing that I had done at TVS for my team, one couple of my product managers who were working on really critical products, one was B2C, one was B2B, another one was B2B2C. For all of them, the metric that I was measuring through a weekly discussion is how many customers we spoke this week, what was our insight, and two things came out. Either people didn't talk to more customers than they spoke the last time, or the insights were the same. And they tell you two different stories. If the insights are the same, either we are not interviewing the perfect way, or we are going back and asking the same question to the same customer. So when you make it part of your culture, I think one leadership behavior is walk the talk. Correct? You keep telling everybody, go talk to customers. How many have you spoken to the specific week? And part of that drive was that I would go ahead and talk to customers, pick out the list of users, their numbers, I would go ahead and speak to them, uh, help my team learn how do you interview, because not everyone, I mean, user interview, customer empathy does not come on day one itself. I would be very honest, despite 20 years, I think I still find there are some customers to whom I find it very difficult to connect in the first moment itself, or they find it very difficult to connect to me. And hence the shortest answer, the most underrated lever is customer insight tools. Maybe you could do surveys, you could do A/B tests, you could just find someone who matches that persona, talk to them, ask them. That's not what we do a lot, and I still need to see that happen a lot.
Okay, I'm going to add on top of what you said with maybe a little bit of a tactic. And just while you're thinking about the next question that I've just put up there on the screen, with a little bit of a tactic is how you should not do it. So, the problem that most founders have is that they approach customer interaction like the way a husband and wife would ask each other who've been in a 30-year marriage, rather than the way a boyfriend and girlfriend will ask each other about how they are after a 3-week relationship, right? And this is very important because after a 30-year marriage, it's how are you? I'm okay. How are you? I'm good, thanks. How was your day? Yeah, it's okay. What about you? Yeah, it was great, thanks. It was really good. Cool, right? 3-week relationship ain't nothing like
Yep,
that. And so you have to go back to that place of really getting the customer to understand how they feel, because you can't get to the difference between the current feeling from whatever existing product use they have from elsewhere to the perceived transformative value that you're going to give with that your product, without bringing them to a place of reminding them about what feelings really were.
absolutely. One point I want to add there, Brian, and while you were just talking about it, obviously, those who haven't been married for 30 years won't be able to correlate with the point. Having said that, I think one of the things we keep hearing, and Steve Jobs said that connecting dots, correct? Uh, I I don't recall where I read it, but I feel that while connecting the dots, need certain imaginary skills. The underlying assumption is that you have enough of dots in your pocket to connect. So if you're not collecting them, it becomes very difficult for you to even connect them. And that's where I feel how you build customer empathy is through talking to them, collecting those dots. Through those conversation, find their happy moments, their frustrations. Only then you will be able to connect and build what you need to deliver next successful PMF solution, value, or whatever we call it as.
I love that. Rather than just keeping on focusing on the same dot over and over and over again. Okay. What's this is a far more interesting question, and one that is actually way more difficult. What signals would tell you that you need to pivot versus persist?
Um, I think there could be a lot, but I have always paid attention to two things. The early one, I'm making certain assumptions. The people are aware of the product and they have already come to know. And I sort of answered that in the beginning also in the same lemonade stall. Everything was going fine, but suddenly you see your North Star metric is is going haywire, or it's showing consistent negative uh, values, or it's going in a completely different direction. I guess that's where I start to worry about my PMF, and I learned that maybe some pivot is required from again experience. There is a product that I built called McAfee Personal Safety. It was using all the mobile sensors to provide a sense, not just a sense, but some cool features such as a priority calling that became SOS as part of um, Apple phones at a later point in time. But one of the levers that we saw, I mean, while users came, a lot of them installed the product. They were not able to sign up, and obviously we found there is something broken in the onboarding. We went ahead and fixed it. 95 plus percent is accuracy. So for every 100 users who came, 95 could successfully come down to the landing page. First time user experience was awesome. But over 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I think we were back then, tracking monthly retention rate, and we saw our monthly retention rate started to drop. And that was an indication. I wouldn't. I think there are multiple ways to look at it. One, the value that we are delivering right now is not enough to keep the user hooked to the product. The second was and that problem was solved easily because it's all about, again, collecting the dots, connecting and building new values for the user. But the first one was that it was the right product but was sent to the wrong segment. So we had to pivot the segment. So it's not always about pivoting the product by doing something different. It could also be that you had a hypothesis about the segment. Everything went fine until one shiny day you see that things are not working for you. So also start looking at whether your segment behavior has changed in certain ways. But simple answer, your North Star metrics. If your North Star metrics is revenue, why is suddenly revenue falling? If it is about acquisition and retention, why is it failing? And if you start seeing that going downhill, something has triggered in the ecosystem. And I would take an example of the ecosystem. Either user behavior has changed, either 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 some competitive force has entered into the market, or something in my product has gone extremely wrong that I need to change. And folks in India, I don't know how many are here, but folks in India could probably relate to it. uh, During pandemic, one of the product that was extremely successful was a product called White Hat Junior and Baiju. So every child was at home. They were totally hooked to online MOOC courses. But as pandemic effect faded out, these products sort of just went out of the market. Now, did the company realize that the time to pivot has come? Did they have enough signal? I believe they had enough of signals. So what was the key indicator? Uninstalls, retentions. So if users are leaving your product, that's the first indicator to know something is going wrong in your product and needs a change.
So I just going to add one comment, and then I want to leave the last comment with you before we go. Okay. So, first of all, when it comes to product market fit, for me, there's no such thing as evolution. No such thing as pivoting. Everything is about evolution, right? It's about listening to what's happening in evolution. Again, I think for everybody listening to this, please don't think about like hitting product fit or not hitting product fit. Just think about like all of the values around it, around that product fit. And like the values that you pointed out as we've gone through this, like the people product fit, the future product fit, the perception product fit, the ecosystem product fit, the partner product fit, all of those. And if people do that and they're scoring that, they're going to get to like transformative impact that they possibly reach. Okay, my friend, I'm leaving you with the last 2 minutes to close us out. Finish us up with the most important part, product fit that you would like people to finish with. And let's have Kishley make sure he gets your details up here as well. And hopefully people can leave here value that they can actually implement.
Sure, Brian. I think in my mind there are 3 points that come, and I would leave people with those 3 thoughts. Do not forget why you are there. Your number one priority, the reason why you exist is because of the customer. So if you keep talking to them, you would know what changes your product need, what values need to change, the way you deliver them, and everything else around the value. The second most important thing that I have seen is you cannot find your PMF by following someone else's path. So while there is a lot of articles, there is a lot of reading, there is a lot of success story, you need to figure out how do you find your PMF. It's not going to be easy. No book has enlisted the stories. What you read is something someone else has done. It has some levers for you, but if you just do a copy paste, it may not work. And we have seen an example of that. I mean, Amazon Fire Phone. They did everything right, and yet they couldn't find the PMF. The last one, I'll leave you with a positive and extremely optimistic note. You would figure it out. It's difficult, but if you stay persistent, you will figure it out.
I love that. Thank you, my friend.
Your story for PMF.
Excellent. Thank you, my friend. It's a great session. Hopefully, people have got some really good impact from it. Go out there, build great product, transform your customer, transform the world. And remember, product market fit is not something that you achieve on the very first day. It's something that you strive towards throughout your entire relationship with your customer. So very much appreciate you joining. Excellent, Anjan. We have anybody who wants to contact Anjan, please contact us through myself, or Kishley will also put the details up here as well, and we will see everybody again.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you, Kisley, and thanks everyone for listening.
Same time next week.